Good morning, this is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channels like a team on my part series, The Week That Was, College Football History in Review, the 1968 college football season. Now, 1968 college football season is going to be about the year of the greatest sophomore class, the unveiling of the wishbone, and a 29-29 win. Now, today I'll be talking about the overview of the college football season, what stood out, and then get into like the milestones and get into the top 20, because 1968 was a season where you know the polls expanded from the top 10 to the top 20. I'm gonna get into that in a few. So I'll be going over like who's ranked in the top 20, and then go over games that were played on September 14th. But the official first week of the season of 1968 was on September 21st. So let's get into it. There was never anything quiet about the coaching career of Woody Hayes, who compiled a 205-61-10 record in 28 years from 1951 to 1978 at Ohio State. Loudly opinionated, thunderously protective of his team, and always controversial, Hayes nonetheless snuck up on the Big Ten in the closing weeks of 1967. After a 1-2 start, the Buckeyes won 5 of their last 6 games, and only a late game touchdown by Illinois prevented Ohio State from taking a 4-way share of the league title. Nobody in the Big Ten, not even 1968 AP preseason number 1 Purdue Boilermakers, was prepared for the dynamic addition of almost certainly the greatest sophomore class in football history that arrived at Ohio State in 1968. Among the stars that arrived on the Buckeye varsity that year were quarterback Rex Kern, tight end Jan White, halfbacks John Brockington, Leophis Hayden, Larry Zelina, split end Bruce Jankowski, defensive backs Jack Tatum, Tim Anderson, Mike Sensabaugh, linebacker Doug Adams, and middle guard Jim Stillwagon. Since half of them hailed from outside Ohio, much credit was owed to Lou McCullough, Woody Hayes' recruiting coordinator. Purdue was flying high with all-around star Leroy Keys after beating number 2 Notre Dame in late September, while Ohio State blanked the Boilermakers in mid-October and wrapped up an undefeated regular season with a smashing 50-14 win over rival Michigan. The win over Michigan inched the Buckeyes ahead of undefeated Southern California as the top-ranked team in the AP poll. So a week later, on Thanksgiving Saturday, USC was tied by then number 9 Notre Dame, which had seen its season slip away with the loss to Michigan State. When Ohio State beat USC in convincing fashion in the Rose Bowl, the Buckeyes were clear-cut national champions. After several years of weighted waffling, the AP writers staged their final poll after bowl results were finished. Sensible practice that finally and forever embraced the bowl results. During spring practice, Coach Darrell Royal of Texas pondered a way of getting his 2 outstanding fullbacks, Ted Coy and Steve Worcester, sufficient playing time. The solution was provided by assistant coach Emery Bellard, who created a full house backfield alignment with the fullback's position moved up closer to the quarterback. So after an opening tie with Houston and loss to Texas Tech, the Y formation, or wishbone as it became known, rolled into an impressive average of 37.4 points per game. Quarterback James Street became the trigger man to launch a 3-year, 30-game winning streak, replacing Super Bill Bradley, who moved first to split end, then defensive back, in time to pick off 4 passes in one game. Perhaps no other offensive formation impacted college football so greatly during the last 55 years, both for the good and the bad, because when the wishbone was run with speed and daring, it was a magnificent show. Referred to the Oklahoma wishbone, masterminded by quarterbacks like Thomas Lott, J.C. Watts, and Jamel Holloway as an example, but in the mid to late 1970s, the vast majority of teams used the wishbone offense when it fell into the hands of mediocre teams with backs who ran with average speed. It could be as dull as decade-old hedge clippers. Pro fans were even in a position to mock their college football friends. It permitted many people, especially those self-appointed social arbiters in the media, to look down on the college brand of college football unless offenses mirrored the NFL style of attack that featured multiple receivers. Now, the surprise team of 1968 was the Kansas Jayhawks, which, like Ohio State, had made quite progress at the end of the 1967 season under new coach Pepper Rogers. With quarterback Bobby Douglas, defensive ends Mike Zook, and Vernon Van Noy leading most of the team in 1968. Kansas charged to a 7-0 start before a narrow loss to Oklahoma. The Jayhawks locked up the Big 8 title in their best season in 60 years. Defensive back Dave Morgan scored on a pass interception and recovered a fumble that led to the deciding score in a 21-19 win over Missouri. The Orange Bowl matched Kansas with undefeated Penn State and produced one of the oddest finishes in bowl history. Trailing 14-7, the Nittany Lions completed a desperate 48-yard pass, leading to a touchdown with 15 seconds remaining, but they failed on a two-point conversion attempt for the win. A penalty for having 12 men on the field cut short the Kansas celebration. Halfback Bobby Campbell quickly swept the round for the winning 2 points. A review of game film showed Penn State in several plays and scored its touchdown against a 12-man defense. Forlorn linebacker Rick Abernathy turned out to be the extra man on the field. Now, two other Eastern teams that supplied an even more exciting finish than the Orange Bowl was the game. The annual Harvard-Yale Ivy League encounter saw both teams survive undefeated, vying for the conference championship. Yale built a 22-0 first half lead as wonderful quarterback Brian Doling accounted for 3 touchdowns. Despite 6 fumbles, the Bulldogs led comfortably at 29-13 until Harvard scored a touchdown with 42 seconds left. A 2-point conversion and onside kick suddenly gave the Crimson hope. Unknown backup quarterback Frank Champi threw a scoring pass to halfback Vic Gotti on the game's last play, and amazingly followed with a tiny two-pointer to end Pete Varney. So on Monday, the Harvard Crimson ran a front-page story on their team's miraculous 16 points in 42 seconds with a memorable headline, Harvard beats Yale 29-29. But in some ways, too, the thrilling tie was the last flickering moment for the glory days of the Ivy League football. With each succeeding season until Ivy administrators demoted their brand of ball to Division I AA, but was staying even for the 1AA playoffs, Ivy Leaguers were to draw more into their ivy-covered towers and continue to preach against football as something that inhibited academic excellence. Football, or Ivy Leaguers, since they pulled themselves into isolation in 1956, had come to define the symbol of athletic excess. Yet Ivy League schools continue to permit athletes from a wide variety of other unpublicized sports to participate in NCAA championships and travel far from the classroom to compete. Somehow it is permissible to allow the rowing crews, generally an Ivy sport, in which the ancient 8 have been and continues to be reasonably competitive on a national basis, to practice every single day of the school year. It is ironic even today that the very people who lead the chorus and sing in praises of college, providing a widely expanded student horizon are the very same to have identified a flat earth policy for the sport they invented. Houston dropped an unholy 100-6, drubbing on Tulsa on November 23rd as the Golden Hurricanes suffered through a team-wide bout with the flu. Now, it was the first 100-point winning total in any game involving at least one University Division team since 1949. Interestingly, after fewer than 10 100-point games in the 1800s, when Ivy League teams ruled over nearly all big routes, the century scoring mark became more common in the 1900 and 1925 era than winning totals of today's college basketball teams. There were nearly 70 games with the team reaching 100 points during 1900 to 1925 because it was a period of considerable shakeout. Tiny but ambitious schools tested themselves with mostly awful results against reigning powerhouses. Among those ranked in 100-point losses were Marian Institute, Alabama Presbyterian, Cumberland in its famous all-time high, 222-0 disaster against Georgia Tech. Ursinus, American Medical, Kingfisher, and Shawnee Catholic and Oklahoma Mines, which lost in consecutive 1920 season openings of the games by 121-0 and 151-0. Ironically, Tulsa football's last century mark victim in 1968. Let's look at the milestones for 1968. West Virginia left ever to emphasize Southern Conference for independence. Western Athletic Conference added Colorado State and Texas El Paso to bring its membership to 8 schools. Memphis State joined Missouri Valley Conference. Athletic Association of Western Universities dropped its name in favor of Pacific 8. Finally, Associated Press returned to top 20 poll after 7 years of naming the top 10 teams. The Writers' Poll also established a post-bowl game final poll, a practice that has been in place ever since. Those are some of the milestones that took place for 1968. The longest winning streaks entering the 1968 college football season was Oklahoma and Yale. They both had an 8-game winning streak entering the season of 1968 for college football, and Texas A&M had a 7-game winning streak to start the college football season. Now, there were coaching changes for the 1968 college football season. Boston College had a new head coach in John Ukika, Columbia Frank Navarro, Hawaii Dave Holmes, Iowa State Johnny Majors, New Mexico Rudy Feldman, Utah Bill Meek, and Washington State Jim Sweeney. Now let's look at the preseason AP poll. This is the top 20 AP poll. And the preseason AP poll for the number one team in the country was Purdue. They were preseason number 1. Number 2 was Southern California. Number 3 was Notre Dame. Number 4, Oklahoma. Number 5, Texas. Number 6, Oregon State. Number 7, Florida. Number 8, Penn State. Number 9, Tennessee. And number 10, Alabama. The rest of the top 20 rounded out as this. Number 11, Ohio State. Number 12, Texas A&M. Number 13, Indiana. Number 14, Nebraska. Number 15, Minnesota. Number 16, UCLA. 17, Arizona State. 18, Louisiana State. Number 19, Syracuse. And number 20, Miami. Now, here we go. The season started on September 14th, 1968. And this wasn't officially like week 1 of the college football season, but there were some games that were played to start the season. So we're going to start with North Carolina State beating Wake Forest 10-6. In a quiet first half marked dedication of handsome Grover Stadium before Full House in Winston-Salem. North Carolina State used kicker Gerald Lawrence 34-yard third quarter field goal for a 3-0 lead, clinching the win with 1:53 to play, and quarterback Jack Cleve capped a 45-yard drive with 1-yard touchdown run. Amazingly, Warren, the previous year's leading 3-point field goal kicker, missed 5 field goal tries to underscore Wolfpack's squandered scoring chances. Wake Forest lost 4 fumbles and threw interception, but gave home fans late thrill with 45-yard drive, opened by defensive back Jack Whitley's 35-yard punt return, on which sub-fullback Lee Clymer scored on game's last play. Supposedly explosive Deacons offense fizzled as quarterback Freddie Summers was pinched into center field and gained only 14 carries for 2 yards rushing. Number 9, Tennessee played against Georgia. This game resulted in a 17-17 tie. The event was marked by ballyhooed introduction of the tartan turf, the first ever on-campus football game on synthetic grass. Service was intended to reduce leg injuries, but conventional wisdom changed over time. Good defense and great punting highlighted first half as Tennessee led 7-0 on short touchdown run by tailback Mike Jones. Defensive back Jake Scott weaved 90 yards for a punt return for a touchdown, and fullback Bruce Kemp barreled 80 yards to touchdown behind crushing open field block of wingback Craig Elrod. So Georgia led 17-9 with 8 minutes left. Washington charged 80 yards in last 2:30 with quarterback Bubba Weish hitting wide receiver Gary Christ with 21-yard touchdown on game's last play, and tight end Ken DeLong with tying 2-point pass. Nebraska, number 14 team in the country. Number 14 team in the country beat the unranked Wyoming by a score of 13-10 over the Wyoming Cowboys. Nebraska coach Bob Devaney started the season against his old team, but he might have entertained second thoughts by way of Cowboys started out. Wyoming opened with 10-0 first quarter lead on kicker Bob Jacobs' 35-yard field goal, and sophomore quarterback Ed Sinyakowski arched 54-yard touchdown pass to halfback Gene Hewitt. Still, trailing 10-3 in the fourth quarter, Devaney looked for spark from sub quarterback Ernie Sigler, who pitched tying 17-yard touchdown to tight end Jim McFarland. After his 23-yard scramble initiated 71-yard drive, the Huskers moved into position for kicker Paul Rogers to win it, the 51-yard field goal with 21 seconds left on the clock. So the AP polls on September 16th looked like this. Purdue was number 1, number 2 Southern California, number 3 Notre Dame, number 4 Texas, 5 Oklahoma, 6 Florida, 7 Alabama, Oregon State number 8, number 9 Ohio State, Penn State number 10, Houston number 11, 12 Tennessee, 13 Texas A&M, number 14 Nebraska, number 15 Indiana. There was a tie between Minnesota and UCLA, number 16 team ranked, number 18 Georgia, number 19 Miami, and number 20 Louisiana State. So let's look at the full slate of the games that took place on September 21st, 1968. Wake Forest beat Clemson by score. Beg your pardon. Wake Forest and Clemson. This matchup was a 2020 tie between Wake Forest and Clemson after poor performance in opener. Exciting quarterback Freddie Summers darted for 2 touchdowns, second of which from 5-yard line, gave underdog Wake Forest 20-13 lead with 8:51 to go in the fourth quarter. Clemson quarterback Charlie Waters hunkered down, masterminded 13-play, 71-yard drive, contributing critical 8-yard run on fourth down to Demon Deep's 20-yard line. Tigers fullback Benny Michael scored a touchdown from 7-yard line, and kicker Mike Funderburg booted tying conversion with 2 minutes to go. Number 6 Florida defeated Air Force 23-20 in Tampa. Florida defensive back Steve Tannen traps through Air Force for 64-yard punt return for a touchdown in the second quarter. Recovered late fumble to prompt Gators win. Blazing sophomore tailback Curtis Martin had quickly baptized Falcons season by sprinting 98 yards with opening kickoff. Martin scored again at end 56-yard advance in third quarter. Air Force had proudly earned 20-16 lead. This as Summers storm struck, Martin lost fourth quarter pitch out to Tanner at the Falcons' 22-yard line. Dynamic Florida fullback Larry Smith, with 110 yards rushing, scored the decisive touchdown, which is second 5 plays later. Kentucky beat Missouri by a score of 12-6. Alabama, the number 7 team in the country, beat Virginia Tech 14-7. In Birmingham, as sophomore wide receiver George Raninger speared 2 touchdown passes in the second quarter, but Alabama had to call bullpen for quarterback Scott Hunter to relieve senior starter quarterback Joe Kelly, who lost fumbles on Ty's first 2 series. Clemson Tide defensive back Donnie Sutton raced 61 yards to the 12-yard line on a punt return in the second quarter. And Hunter rolled out to pitch to Raninger for an 8-yard touchdown on third down. And Raninger twisted to take a shoe-top catch on Bama's next possession and rolled for a 65-yard touchdown, 14-0 lead. So Virginia Tech lost quarterback Al Kincaid to second quarter injury when he was hit by whirling dervish linebacker Mike Hall. Defensive tackle Randy Barron didn't keep the Gobblers from scoring, yet only touchdown minutes later, with 42 seconds left before halftime. Virginia Tech defensive lineman Larry Creekmore blocked the punt. Defensive end Judd Burnell fell on ball in end zone for touchdown, shut down completely by Tide defense. Hokies were thrown for minus 17 yards rushing and netted only 48 yards. Next, Louisiana State, number 20 team in the country. It was a battle of 2 top 20 teams that were ranked. Number 13 Texas A&M against number 20 Louisiana State, where number 20 Louisiana State beat number 13 Texas A&M by a score of 13-12. Texas A&M enjoyed a 12-0 lead on bad and snap safety quarterback Ed Hargett's short touchdown pass to wide receiver Bob Bob Long, and kicker Charlie Briggs 31-yard field goal. Busy Texas A&M punter Steve O'Neal lofted 48, 53, 46, and 48-yard punt to keep Bayou Bengals caged deep in their end until latter stages of second quarter. LSU alternated quarterbacks Freddie Haynes and Jimmy Gilbert to slam Furious drive down Aggie's throat with fullback Frank Matty's touchdown run. Trailing 12-6, LSU batted in fourth quarter on running of Haynes and tailback Tommy Trigger Allen, who carried 6 times on a 10-play voyage. Tigers wingback Jim West scored on a 3-yard run behind Allen's cut down block, and kicker Mark Lumpkin kicked the go-ahead punt. Aggies never quit and marched deep into Tigers' end on quarterback Ed Hargis, 46-yard pitch to wide receiver Jimmy Adams, and rifle shot pass to Long at 5-yard line. Long took pitch out wide to within inches of goal line, but lost fumble after being cut down by searing tackle. California defeated Michigan 21-7. Sideback Gary Fowler, who ran for 78 yards and 18 carries, ran for 3 touchdowns, and paced rushing attack for underdog California, which outgained Michigan runners to 240 yards to 99 yards. Now trailing 14-0 in the second quarter, Wolverines quarterback Dennis Brown pitched 10 and 18 yards, and finally for 8-yard touchdown to Jim Manage. The tight end had 73 yards receiving on 6 catches and a touchdown. But overall, Michigan air game resulted in a weak 135 yards passing on 9 of 31. Star halfback Ron Johnson of Michigan was limited to 48 yards rushing on 21 carries, but Wolverines presented 2 gems on defense. Michigan defensive tackle Tom Goss and linebacker Tom Stinchik roamed all over the field in pursuit of bare runners. That was Wolverines' first opening game loss in 6 years, and what would be Coach Bump Elliott's last season in charge. But 8-game winning streak was right around the corner. Meanwhile, number 2, Southern California, beat number 16, Minnesota, by a score of 29-20. This is about 2 top 20 teams. Number 2, Southern California, beat number 16, Minnesota, by a score of 29-20. As USC tailback O.J. Simpson had a personal best to date rushing total of 236 yards rushing on 39 carries and 4 touchdowns. Simpson added 59 yards receiving and 6 catches as Trojans rallied in the fourth quarter. Kicker Ron Ayala, 29-yard field goal, broke the 13-13 tie for USC early in the final period. On following kickoff, Gophers halfback George Kemp was hemmed in and pitched lateral halfway across field to lonesome halfback John Wintermute, who dashed 83 yards to the score. This gave Minnesota the lead back at 20-16, but gritty USC defensive back Mike Battle returned punt 13 yards to the Gophers' 45-yard line. And Trojans adopted their best strategy. They gave the ball to O.J. Simpson 6 plays in a row, last of which was 7-yard touchdown run that put the Trojans ahead for good at 22-20. Next, number 8 Oregon State was upset by unranked Iowa 21-20. As number 8 Oregon State gained 309 yards rushing, but ended up fueling upset by youthful Iowa with 4 lost fumbles and late game interception. The Hawkeyes tailback Dennis Green, future coach of Northwestern, Stanford, and the Minnesota Vikings and Arizona Cardinals, respectively, scored a winning touchdown on a 9-yard pitch shot with 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Hawkeyes quarterback Ed Podolak skipped across the goal line for 3 yards and 10-yard scores each time game in the first half at 7-7 and 14-14. So Oregon State scores were its backfield mainstays like halfback Billy Main, who tallied on a 40-yard run, fullback Bill Enhart, who powered 3 yards. He was lost quarterback Steve Priest to the shoulder injury. His sub Gary Barton missed 2 handoffs through interceptions to Iowa defensive back Coleman Lane, thus creating 3 ruinous turnovers that ruined any hope Beavers harbored for fourth quarter rally. Podolak, 2, was knocked from the game, but his Iowa quarterback replacement named Larry Lawrence hit 4 of 6, which is 2 yards, which prime factor on a 43-yard trip to Green's winning touchdown. Kicker Marcos Melendez's decisive extra point. Next, number 3 Notre Dame beat Oklahoma, who was number 5 in the country, 45-21. So this is about 2 top 5 programs. Number 3, Notre Dame against number 5, Oklahoma, where number 3, Notre Dame beat number 5, Oklahoma 45-21. Now, doing stable duty, that was double duty. Wingback, defensive back Eddie Hinton, who had 122 yards receiving and 6 catches and a touchdown, gave Oklahoma early thrills with 72-yard touchdown pass reception and a 20-yard interception return to position the Sooners tight end Steve Zabel for first of his 2 touchdown catches for a 14-7 lead on the last play of the first quarter. OU drove again, but was forced into errant 29-yard field goal try. Quarterback Terry Handwriting connected with end Jim Seymour for 2 scores in the second quarter to wrest away lead for good for Notre Dame. Seymour's second scoring reception moved him past Leon Hart for new Notre Dame record for career touchdown catches. Irish allowed only 1 single first down in the second half until game's last 5 minutes. Route was cemented as halfback Bob Gaudeau added 2 short touchdown runs in the third quarter for a 35-14 lead. Slender Oklahoma quarterback Bobby Womack stood up strong pass rush to hit 10 of 26 for 172 yards and 3 touchdowns. Fighting Irish offense was remarkably efficient against the Sooners defense, rolling up 571 yards, never punting, and clicking on impressive drives of 60, 80, 76, 54, 68, and 70 yards. Next, Texas, number 4 team in the country, faced against Houston. This is another ranked matchup between 2 ranked opponents. Texas, number 4 team in the country, against number 11 Houston. This matchup resulted in a 20-20 tie. Missed scoring chances punctuated this surprise tie, with Houston fullback Paul Gibson scored from 156 and 55 yards out. But Cougars botched 2 late opportunities. Sophomore kicker Jerry Lee Reck missed the chip shot field goal with 10:28 left, and Houston failed to score after reaching number 4 Texas 1-yard line. 3:34 to play. Texas tailback Chris Gilbert dashed for 57 yards and 8-yard touchdowns, but after tailback Ted Coy's fourth quarter touchdown, potential winning kick was missed. Next, we got Arkansas against Oklahoma State. It's the final game to talk about, recap. Arkansas beat Oklahoma State by a score of 32-15 in Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, Arkansas snoozed for 3 quarters, trailing ambitious Oklahoma State 15-3 at halftime and 50-10 after 3 quarters. Then Razorbacks turned to their bevy of tailbacks to complete a 4-touchdown avalanche in the second half with 3 scores in the fourth quarter. Cowboys had enjoyed early success based primarily on quarterback Ronnie Johnson and hitting end Jerry Philpott and wingback Terry Brown with short touchdown passes. Johnson wedged in a 2-point run as well. Arkansas quarterback Bill Montgomery sparked second half revival in the third quarter where he hit wingback Bruce Maxwell with a 28-yard pass to Oklahoma State 38-yard line. Then tailback David Dickey loved ball 7 of next 8 plays for touchdown. After Cowboys halfback Gary Goodwin fumbled punt with 11:33 left, Dickey came back with a 6-yard touchdown run, and tailback Bill Barnett capped 7-yard Hogs drive with 11-yard touchdown sweep with 4 minutes to go. Defensive back Gary Adams interception, poised third-string Porkers, tailback Russell Cody for icing on the cake 4-yard touchdown run in the last minute. Let's look at official week 1 of the games that were played on September 21st, 1968. The start of the 1968 college football season actually started on September the 14th. The full slate of games for week 1 was on September 21st. So let's look at the AP poll as of September 23rd. Number 1 was Purdue. Number 2, Notre Dame. Number 3, Southern California. Number 4, Penn State. Number 5, Florida. Number 6 was Texas. 7 was Alabama. Number 8, UCLA. Number 9, Nebraska. Number 10, Houston. Number 11, Ohio State. Number 12, Kansas. Number 13, Indiana. Number 14, Louisiana State. Number 15, Miami. Number 16, Tennessee. Number 17, Minnesota. Number 18, Oregon State. Number 19, Arizona State. And number 20, Wyoming. So that concludes the look at the week that was college football history review. The 1968 college football season of 1968 the overview of the 1968 college football season. Also, I talked about some of the milestones and the preseason AP polls, as well as the games that were played on September 14th, 1968. But the official full week of the first week of the college football season of 1968 was on September 21st. So that concludes this video, man. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Comment, do whatever you can. Support. Do a video of this magnitude tomorrow. So continue on the journey of the recap of the 1968 college football season. It will be week 2. The games that were played on September 28th, 1968. Until then, talk to you soon.